So my first question we have for you is, when does retirement officially begin for you?
June 30th. And by that date, you see, after 21 years, I have lots of stuff at IMSA, and I intend to leave a lot of it, but some things can't be left. And I have a whole generation of means of taping things, from VHS tapes to, I think there was something called High 8 to DVDs, and now I do it on an SD card, but I have tons of video and posters, student work, files. I chose June 30th because it's gonna take a month probably to sort things out.
Okay. Are you gonna leave it in a particular space, or like the things that you will leave behind?
Oh, the things I'll leave a lot of things in the classroom. Okay. And I have one wall in my classroom that is nothing but student posters for soap operas that they created.
Nice.
And hopefully I don't have to take those down, because it's one of the rooms in IMSA that has a slanted ceiling and it goes up very high. Okay. It takes a lot of effort to put things at that ceiling, which I did.
Okay, cool. And so you said June 30th, so not too far from now. So how does it feel to kind of finally be almost done, officially done?
It's really weird because I've owned since March 25th, I've been in school twice. I've been allowed 3 times, actually. I've been allowed in so that I could copy student work so that I can send it back to them, because I write cursive as they write, and that's the only way I can get comments to them. So it's really weird not seeing the people I've worked with for a long time. And I recall the last Friday in March, when we were all in school before the spring break, Big D, Don Dosh, came up and shook my hand and said, "You know what? We're not going to see each other again this year." And he got it right. Got it right. Wow. So it's weird to not be in a classroom and not be able to say some goodbyes and to give out a ton of stuff to people. But it is what it is. I would prefer not to have left being a distance teacher, because that's not who I am. So it's kind of weird.
No, I know the feeling. I mean, I can't imagine what it feels like to be almost at the end, but I do know for me, even though I'm not leaving anytime soon, it does feel awkward not to be able to interact. I've interacted with students since I've been here a lot, and staff and faculty members as well, just not to have those interactions, even though I'm still working.
Right.
It's just an awkward feeling, leaving, not to see my family. It's just awkward. I don't know how to feel about these
How
times.
long have you been at IMSA?
This is my third year.
Okay.
Third year, so not even close to how long you've been here at all. So, all right, thank you. For my next question, could you tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about your background and just your role here at IMSA over the last however many years you've been here?
Okay. When I left high school, I headed to Lawrence University in Wisconsin, Appleton, Wisconsin, and my intention was to study psychology. And I did that for 2 years and focused on human learning and memory, and that was really cool. I worked with some dynamite professors, but then I lived 1 year in a dormitory, and after that I was able to live in a small house with a group of students. And one of my housemates said, "Hey, Paavo, you should take a Russian course." So I signed up, changed my life. That was the end of psychology, and after that worked like heck to complete a Russian major, and I had some great professors. A guy named George Smalley, a guy named Dick Yatsik, and I kept in contact with them. Dick Yatsik died in the past year, and George Smalley died quite a few years ago, but they were instrumental. And I took something from them. They said, you think we're teaching Russian? Actually, we're teaching you how to live.
Nice.
So that was cool. Then a few years after I graduated, I went to UW-Madison, continued with Russian, got another degree in Russian, then started working on a doctorate. But life changed, and I realized I was never going to write a dissertation in a reasonable time and save a marriage, so I quit and left. And then a while later, I came to IMSA, and I survived the budget cuts of 2002 and a whole lot of other things. Administrators tend to cut less commonly taught languages in most school systems, but I've been very fortunate to have a lot of support at IMSA. So I teach 4 classes. I teach 2 level 1 classes, which tend to be small, and those level 1 classes become a larger level 2, and that 2 becomes a 3. So every year I have 4 classes. And what else do I do? I'm the OC, operational coordinator for world languages, and I have been for off and on for years. I used to be on the cadre committee, but that kind of disappeared when the faculty and a bunch of staff decided to join a union. So we'll see. Maybe it'll come back. I hope it does. What else? I started a student exchange with a Russian school a number of years ago. And I think it was in, 2002. That was the summer my youngest son was born. I had a Fulbright to study Russian in Moscow at Moscow State, and that was cool. And after I did that, I decided that I started to need, I really wanted to start a student exchange or take students to Russia. That's how it started. So I went to, after 2002, I went to Moscow once, went to St. Petersburg 4 times with groups of students, but I wanted to turn it into an exchange where rather than just being tourists, students could actually attend Russian classes. And our principal at that time, Eric McLaren, was very supportive, and he said, okay, where do you want to start an exchange? And I said, St. Petersburg. He said, we already have connections there because our students have presented or had presented at physics and math school in St. Petersburg a number of times after 1996, because our SIR director at the time, Peggy Connolly, would take students to their equivalent of IMSA Loquium. It was called the Sakharov readings. So IMSA had a relationship. So in 2008, I contacted the principal at the Russian school, and let's start an exchange, he said.
Nice.
Let's work on it and make it happen. And we did. Nice. And what's cool is, to the best of my knowledge, there are two high schools in the world started by Nobel laureates in physics. IMSA has Leon Letterman, and the Russian school, which is called Lyceum Physical Technical High School, was founded by Zhores Alfyorov, who also was Nobel laureate in physics. So that's cool. The kinship is really, really neat. So that's something that could be the thing I'm most proud of in encouraging peer interactions across the world. And so how it works is IMSA students go to Russia 1 year, and then Russian students come to IMSA. So we alternate. So we IMSA students went to this high school 6 times, and the Russians made their 6th visit to IMSA
Nice.
in December, January.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So-
it is cool. And you know what?
Mhm.
Some of it isn't just peer relationships that are fostered this way. I mean, and the main thing is these are the future leaders.
Mhm.
I mean, it's nice when they can develop relationships early. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But also for me, some of my closest friends are at that St. Petersburg High School right now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that you feel will continue in the same capacity with you not being here and everything, or
It
how do you think that'll
depends.
be affected?
It depends on who teaches Russian next.
Okay.
I'm certainly willing to help to encourage that along under the right circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But also, here's the other thing. Exchanges need to be organic. They have to grow and come out of existing programs. If and you might want to edit this, but when administrators create such things, you have to make sure that there's faculty and staff buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I do everything for this exchange, and it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of support from one's family.
Mm-hmm.
So hope so. It's worth continuing.
I hope so too. I'm pretty sure it's been a highlight for a lot of your students' time here at IMSA. Like, I'm pretty sure that was one of the biggest things that stood out in their mind as far as, an enjoyable experience and a meaningful experience that they would carry on for the rest of their lives. So I'm hoping that can continue and that opportunity will still be as authentic and as you say, organic as possible.
Yeah, it needs to come out of existing programs, and there's nothing to stop any discipline at IMSA from starting an exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for goodness sakes, English is spoken everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to mention, I had 2 students from the Acantillo family. They're from Bourbonnais.
Okay.
And one, a daughter and a son, and one of the daughters, Lisa, who's, maybe she's a doctor already. I think she's probably at Northwestern. I haven't seen her for several years. But at the end of her senior year, she wrote that participating in the exchange was the most incredible thing she had done at IMSA. So, okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that actually leads into my next question, kind of, which is basically, are there any particular courses that you taught or any particular class years that kind of stand out in your mind as you reflect on your time here at IMSA?
Well, my classes really haven't changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a formula that allows there to be a full-time Russian teacher at IMSA. But I bet if asked and if put to the test, I could probably come. So all my students have Russian names. They choose Russian names the first day of class when they really don't know anything. and I bet that if I could see pictures of all my students, I could probably put Russian names to most of them.
That's pretty cool.
Because I've been the only Russian teacher, so most students continue to study Russian for 3 years. So I know them well, and they know me well. Positives, negatives, we're just, we really form a community. So individual students, I was thinking about that, and that's tough. But once upon a time, the IMSA Russian department, if you will, had a website, and it was a website that was advanced as anything at IMSA, and maybe more advanced, because what I would do is I would recruit the most talented programmers who were in my classes. And then what they did was they wrote the programs to create a really cool website. And it started with David Kassam from 2005, and Sharad Kumar, 2005, Brian Sawicki, 2006, Brian Flynn, 2009, and Michael Kabiela in 2011, and Alexander Magerko in 2015. And then the website kind of died off as IMSA took more. I got some good advice from a colleague at Langley High School in Langley, Virginia. And he said, Paavo, look, we're teaching Russian. We need to advertise, we need to connect, we need to build community, or we're not going to have students. And so that encouraged me to believe that we needed a website. Well, what do I know about such things? Nothing. But IMSA has some dynamite programmers.
Yeah.
And so I contacted them, and they created a website and architecture using cutting edge technology, and that was kind of neat. David Kassam from 2005. At one time, I had a Mac and a PC on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to use a Mac, but the Russian world at the time was a PC world. So all my stuff was on the Mac. So what am I supposed to do? David Kassam wrote all the programs to transfer all of my documents, which were thousands, so that they could be used on a PC platform.
Wow, that's impressive.
Isn't that cool?
That's what they do late at night instead of sleeping. It's like I'm gonna figure out a way to do this. That's pretty cool.
So those are some students, but really all classes have been memorable. IMSA students have changed over the years, but a lot of that has to do with the technology that's available. Teachers' lives have changed. We never used to take computers home with us. Now I can't imagine not having my laptop with me, which was a big change. Now we can do our grades at home. There was a time when the building was full at grading time because you had to be in school in order to do it.
All right, that kind of also leads into my next question, which is, if you can think about any and all of your memories at IMSA, what would you define as your favorite memory?
Favorite memories? Well, favorite memories every year are the opening day, the convocation, where juniors and seniors gather, and when these sophomores, who some of them are scared out of their minds, all meet in the gym, and it's just a marvelous gathering, marvelous beginning. Graduation each year is a big event that was always special, and especially when it was at the Paramount. And then IMSAloquium. One of the coolest things is that IMSAloquium came back and will continue to grow. That was such a signature piece at IMSA, and I was always proud, and I just loved having sessions, and I would try to see as many of my students as I could. It was just a full day. of IMSA student accomplishment. That's what IMSA is about. It's about students, and that was their day. Other memories, I talked about the exchange. That's probably the thing I'm most proud of, honestly, because it's a big undertaking and it really gets at the mission of making connections in the world. And it isn't just, I mean, yes, it's great when teachers do that, but it's about the students. We always need to remember that. Is that enough memories?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I don't know if I caught the exact year of what year did you come to IMSA? I know you mentioned that you went through the budget cuts in 2002. What year exactly did you come to IMSA?
I came to IMSA in 1999.
99. Okay, so you and Bob, I want to say, came around the same time.
Similar time.
Okay.
Bob is one of my heroes.
Okay.
When Bob was in charge of student life, he trusted me a lot, and he taught me a lot about giving students freedom and sometimes taking it away. But he trusted me, and that was incredible. I made huge mistakes, but I learned from all of them. Eric McLaren also. Those are just two names from the past.
Okay. And so with everything that you've kind of like been through here, I know IMSA has had a history of all types of things, all types of whirlwinds, everything. What has kept you motivated?
So I was in awe of IMSA, kind of like our students. You know, sophomores, they enter and they think, am I good enough to be here? You know, they've always been the best, but now they've got the best of the best. And I was in awe when I came in, and I was fortunate to come to an academic team. We were called foreign languages at that time, but we became world languages. That was composed of professionals who were so dedicated, who were involved locally on a state level and nationally. We wrote curriculum. We talked seriously about pedagogy. That was motivation, and that started me on the path. People like John Stark, all-world German teacher, Willa Schultz, all-world French teacher, Jose Paulo, Spanish teacher, Maria Atienza Gabas, and I'm going to forget somebody here. But such Brenda Crosby, such incredible people, Socorro Cintron. We worked together. We enjoyed each other, and that was motivation, and that set the bar very, very high. Also, how about our mission statement? At one time, we had an aspirational statement that said, world's leading. What does that mean? Well, I don't know that superlatives are dangerous, but we are supposed to be world leading, and our students should be too. And so I've been dedicated to helping them be the best that I can. And they've done a pretty decent job. I'm from Minnesota, so.
You're from Minnesota? Minnesota.
So being just a little bit above average was kind of a motto that I grew up with, but our students are far above average. They are incredible. So that's motivation. Students keep you moving, the mission, the team, your colleagues you work with, and just some kind of internal motivation that says, you know what? I may not be getting paid a ton of money, but this is a dynamite school. You need to produce, you need to perform.
That's really cool.
That's motivation. Plus, that's enough.
No, thank you. That's awesome. You mentioned Minnesota, so I had to throw in Minnesota. My brother lives in Minnesota, so that's another place that I would be right now, enjoying all the lakes before it gets cold.
Where does your brother live?
He's been all over, but like right now he's in, what is it? It's a town next to Blaine, Hugo.
Oh, so
I think
close to the
Hugo.
north.
Yeah, Hugo, Minnesota. Hugo, Minnesota. It's
Hugo,
near
yeah.
White Bear Lake. It's near White Bear Lake.
Yeah, that's so he might go into St. Paul more than Minneapolis.
Oh yeah. He's been all over. He's been in Mankato. He's been like, he loves it up there. I'm like, yeah, but how do you do the code? It's like, I've been up there a couple of times when it was like negative. The wind chill was like negative. I want to say 50 something, negative 50 something. I'm like, and it hurt. As soon as I went outside, my skin, everything tightened, and it was just like, this hurts. And then I would see people like just come out of the store without a headache, no problem. I'm like, how do they do that? But it's pretty cool. It's definitely interesting, beautiful place, beautiful.
It's in our genes, I think.
It was definitely interesting. Like even my brother, it'll be like 18 degrees and he'll just have a jacket on outside. I'm like, what are you doing? And I'll just be covered head to toe.
He's a Minnesotan.
That's pretty cool. Cool. My next question, I kind of threw it in there as a bonus question, just because I think it's pretty cool to have your spouse at work at the same place that you work at. And I don't know if you know, my wife also works here at IMSA.
I do. Yulia told me.
Oh yeah, she's an alum from the class of 2006, and she works here. And so I would like to know, where did you and Yulia meet, and how did it feel to work in the same building as your wife for all these years?
We met in 1984 in the fall in Leningrad, today St. Petersburg.
Okay.
I was a student at Leningrad State University, now St. Petersburg State University. Yulia was a student there. And I just happened to be put in the same dormitory as her, and eventually we met. We became friends, talked a lot, and a year later, I went back and saw her. And then a couple months after that, we registered to get married. And 3 months after that, we did get married.
Nice.
And 6 months after that, she arrived in New York, not knowing a word of English. And I picked her up and we made our way back to Minnesota.
Nice. Cool. And how did it feel to kind of be in the same place, to work in the same institution as her? Did you both come here at the same time, or?
No, I came after Yulia. Yulia came to IMSA to teach Russian.
Okay.
Then she decided she wanted to be an academic counselor.
Okay.
And I always had wanted to be a Russian teacher, and I interviewed and was accepted. We spent a lot of time talking about IMSA at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was IMSA around the clock.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, and sure, I mean, there were some difficult times and there were some things we wouldn't talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but she was supportive. That's the main thing. If you were, I mentioned the exchange that I've been involved with, but I've also been involved in a professional group called the American Council of Teachers of Russian.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this takes a great deal of time. And without Yulia's support, none of it would have happened. And so, there are times where, don't talk to me about that.
Yeah, I know.
And then she has her space and I have my space.
Mm-hmm.
CAC office is one of my favorite places, but probably because Karen is there,
Mm-hmm.
and a few other people, and Ruel, but not necessarily Yulia. I'm just kidding. I like everybody in the CAC office.
That's pretty cool. Like, my wife and I, we have our discussions all the time, and like I'm pretty sure. I mean, we've only been here a few years, so it'll grow. I'm pretty sure. But there are those moments as you were describing your experience that I'm like, that sounds familiar.
We
But
also,
definitely
but our favorite topic is politics. We're always talking politics,
nice.
always.
That's pretty cool.
So that's good that Yulia came from a place where one didn't have much say in politics. Now, well, maybe we don't right now either, but we sure talk.
Cool.
So there were difficulties, but also it was, look, if you need help getting something done, you can always, I mean, hit your spouse first, you know, or advice. So
Yeah, cool. What are your plans for retirement? Do you have any yet, or kind of still deciding?
well, I currently co-chair the National Russian Essay Contest, and that's voluntary. I will continue to do that. I'll do that. I promise. I've been a lifetime member twice in the American Council of Teachers of Russian. Twice because they didn't charge us enough the first time, so maybe I'll be 3 times. Who knows? And you know, if we really have in-person voting again, I want to volunteer to work elections, because the last time I voted, it was I early voted in a trailer at Jewel, and the people there said, hey, you should consider volunteering when you're no longer working. So that's something I'd like to do. I'll probably, my son has been a Boy Scout for years, and I will probably continue to volunteer for various things. I've been a merit badge counselor for years, everything from woodworking to forestry to fly fishing. So I'll continue with that. And I think I would like to become a certified fly casting instructor.
Nice.
Through a group called FFI. I don't think there'd be much income involved with that, but I think that would be kind of cool.
That'll be cool.
And you know, there are lots of organizations I've been part of and donated to over the years, but I haven't given them a whole lot back. And if you're not working, you can do that. And also, you see what's behind me on my screen?
Yeah.
You're looking at a provincial park that stretches for miles and miles and miles. We have what we call a camp. It's a cabin. Actually, we have a couple, but I have enough peeled spruce logs to build at least 2 more cabins or structures.
Nice.
So I think I'm going to do some of that.
Nice.
Also.
That's pretty cool.
If IMSA asked me to do something, I would consider it. Maybe we can go on a tour.
Yeah.
Back when travel is normal, we can talk to some of these alums.
That'll be nice. I'm pretty sure they would love to see you and hear from you, like and hear what you're up to.
We could go together, huh?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I bet there's some alums in Minnesota too.
We definitely have some in Minnesota. That'll be cool. That'll be cool. Like you're definitely one of the names that come up all the time when I'm speaking with alum. Is Paavo still there? Is Paavo doing this? Is he doing that? I remember this. I remember that. There's a lot of experience. I think actually when we were meeting with California 2 weeks ago, somebody mentioned something, a great memory about the Russian exchange students working program or something that took place, but it was like one of their best memories ever. So that's pretty cool. Like to see that you definitely have a place in their hearts and in their memories, and will continue to be that way. So,
you know, Mo, look, hopefully everybody has had teachers that made a difference. I've had a ton of teachers,
Mhm.
loads, from high school to college to grad school, that made a difference, and years in school go by kind of quickly, but I recall teachers who were significant for all kinds of reasons. And you know, I receive messages from former students every once in a while. Let's see, when were the Sochi Olympics? 2012?
I forget which year exactly. I feel like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so you know what? I had two former students who were working those Olympics.
Oh.
One was working for NBC as a translator, and the other was working as a translator for another organization. Now, how cool is that?
That's really cool.
I mean,
That's awesome.
Another time I got a postcard. Do you remember what a postcard is?
I do. Our students will have no clue.
So I got a postcard from a student who was working in the Moscow embassy.
Wow.
Now, who would have thought it? Or someone writes me and said, hey, you know what? I'm double majoring in biology and Russian.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool.
That is really awesome. That is really awesome. That definitely goes to show, and it speaks for itself, for the impression that it left on those students, and you as an instructor, someone that they can really lean on and look up to. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So that kind of leads me to my last question. If you could provide any advice for our alumni, what would you like to tell them?
Don't be too full of yourselves. You're all great, you're all talented, so what? There are a lot of great and talented people in the world. Think about others. Become part of communities. Remember the community you had at IMSA, what you cherish most about that. Try to create that community in your lives today. Vote. Vote. Don't just sit on your hands. Vote, because that affects the kind of world we're going to live in. Global warming is a huge issue. We need to do something. Vote, make a difference, be heard, get active. Make your voices be heard. We have a lot of alums that are influential or will be. They need to do so loudly. Carry their IMSA flag. If they want to have the stair step logo, that's okay. It doesn't matter. The main thing is IMSA.
Cool. Thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure, I hope they take those words to heart, as they are truly words of encouragement and inspiring words coming straight from an inspiring individual. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Paavo, for your time. And before we leave, do you have any last comments, anything you want to leave for the alum?
This probably isn't the best thing to say, but it doesn't really matter what we teach or what language we teach, whether it's math, history, English. A lot of parents will say, well, what do you need to study Russian for? What are you going to do with it? I recall one student, Steve, boy, I'd have to look to come up with his last name. But one thing I did a lot with students, I gave them opportunities to peer teach. And that's a confidence builder. That's spooky to have to create an entire lesson plan, create all the materials, and then probably to assign homework, and then to read the homework and grade it. That's the whole thing. So I had one student, I remember he wrote in a reflection at the end of the year, he was going to the Naval Academy. And he said, you know what, after teaching a 70-minute class, we had different schedule. We had 2 at 45 and 2 at 70 at that time. But he said after teaching a 70-minute class in Russian on, I think his topic was Kazakhstan. He said, you can put anything in front of me. I'm ready for anything.
That's pretty cool.
And so that's the most important thing, to build confidence, critical thinking skills, ability to write with clarity, to speak with clarity, to be able to do so ethically. That's it. That's the main thing.
Cool. Well, thank you, Paavo. It was a pleasure.
But you know what, Mo? I think the best thing is, okay, this situation means that I can't see a lot of people. But it's also okay just to go. You know, because this isn't about, it's not about me. It never was about me. IMSA is about our students and the people of Illinois. So, you know, like I say, I remember all their names.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. I hope I have a fresh memory like that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out to sit for this interview. I know, like I said, you're busy. I know all of everything is new for everybody, and adjusting is definitely a thing that everybody's kind of getting used to. So, but thank you, and I appreciate this. This is going to be the feature, at least for the newsletter, and I look forward to it after editing and everything like that.
Okay, I hope you can edit me to create something out of that.
I got you.
Let's not make this the last time we see each other, hey?
Okay, got you. I got you. Thank you, Paavo. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mo.
All right, take care.
Yeah, you too.